In this little video, I show you how to work with variables. For the purpose of this video, we're creating now a new program. Here we still have our little hello world from one of the prior videos. I right-click on the project, say new BBJ source file, and start an empty program, which we call variables. So BBJ knows certain variable types, one of which are built in, and these would be in contrast to what would be similar to Java objects or Java using Java classes in the code. So we start with the built-in ones, and there are basically three that you need to know. There are numerics, like comparing to double or big integer on the Java world. There are integers, and there are string variables. These are built in, and they are built in a certain way that make it easy for professional business application developers to work with them. So any of you who have maybe written Java code may know about rounding things in the double of Java when you say, okay, it's a whole number, but in the end, the representation would be like 12.9999999. And it sometimes can produce some headaches. So in BBJ, these internal variables are intended for use with commercial business applications where rounding and so on is implemented to follow accounting best practices. So we start with a numeric variable. So we can, for instance, say numeric equals 5.7. So what this does is it creates a variable which has the name numeric, and it assigns the value 5.7. You see, I'm just typing the variables. So the internal ones, you do not declare. They are identified by their suffix. And if a variable name has no suffix, it's immediately clear to the BBJ developer that it's a numeric variable. In contrast to that, you would have whole numbers or integers carrying a suffix. They would carry a percent sign. So when you see something like this, it's an integer in the code. So and you also see that there's some syntax coloring now in the IDE that distinguishes both types for easier readability. But in the old, these are the two numeric types that are built into the language, which are at your disposal. And then there's a third one, which are strings. So the BBJ string variables have a suffix which is a $sign. So dollar signs are known to those of you who may have worked before with basic type languages. So here I could say my string dollar equals hello world. So also the strings are pretty straightforward. However, one thing to keep in mind, the BBJ strings are always in the character set that the BBJ service, the backend service, is running in, and they do not provide any particular converting back and forth between Unicode and a 8-bit character set. So you would want to use Java strings in order to obtain the full flexibility of what you maybe used from Java. And we can do this right away. And I show you how it would be done to have the hello world as a Java string. So we just say my string, and now we use the exclamation mark. Oops. Hello world. There we go. And now what we have here is basically a Java string. So also here you see there is no particular need for declaring variables, but we can just use them, and we can assign the Java string directly to the variable name carrying an exclamation mark. So what does that mean? Exclamation mark is the indicator for an object. So whenever you see an exclamation mark, then it's an object variable. And so this means that in theory, my string could be any Java object, and it will be determined if I don't declare them at runtime. So what I could also do is my map And some of you may guess what's now coming. I can use Java util hashmap. Oops, I forgot the new verb. So now this statement creates a variable called myMap and assigns a new empty hashmap to it. So there is an important thing to know about object variables. Some of you may have played a bit between the last video and this one with them, and you may wonder, hey, couldn't I get development support on my object variables? So yes, you can, but in this case, you need to declare those. So we had in the last video these three built-in types, numeric, integer, and strings. And we learned that the exclamation mark means object variable. And now we want to look at how can we declare these variables and then get code completion and also type checking on those variables. So there is a statement called declare, or it's a keyword, declare, and then you just give the type, string, my string, and we say declare, and the string is automatically imported. We can do Java util hashmap. So you see I need to give the complete package name. And now I have the two variables declared. And what happens now is BBJ now knows in the source code that these two variables are different object types. And now I can say something like my string exclamation mark dot. I wait a short moment and I see all the code completion suggestions that the IDE proposes for a Java string. And I can do the same with my map exclamation mark dot. And you see here I get the code completion suggestions for a hash map. So this is how you would work with the declare statement. There is a little addition to it, and I suggest you read about it in the documentation, which is, if you're familiar with object orientation, you know that here and there you need to cast. BBJ has a convenience method for us, which is the declare auto. So whenever you have a declare auto in your variables, then this means that whenever something returns a type which is compatible, then it will automatically cast it. So imagine something's returning in the formal declaration of the interface a map, but we know that it's going to be a hash map. So normally we would have to cast that value into the variable, but if we have a declare auto, then BBJ will determine whether the type is met, if the correct type is met, and assign it without the cast. So the declare auto might be helpful here and there, but in most cases you want a strict checking of your types. So I suggest that you read about the auto, that you know how it's about, but that you start using declare right away with your object variables. Then there's another thing you have already noticed that I was using here, Java util hashmap, which is the complete package name. It's a little inconvenient. So what we can do now, we can import the classes like in Java. So the keyword in BBJ is not import, but it's use. So I just type use Java util hashmap, and then I can remove the package name here in the two cases where I used it. And I can simply refer to it as a hash map.